Hello friends, I am back for part 2 of my shaperless square scarf series. So this is going to be the low bun wrap video, so it's going to be shorter than the first one. So I am going to be doing these wraps. I have a no slip velvet headband on and then one of these perfect poof scrunchies. I got mine from Rapunzel. You can find them pretty much anywhere, including like Amazon, any other just like big fluffy scrunchie. They're very inexpensive. These are an awesome alternative to shapers, both in terms of price point and in terms of comfort. But they just give you a few more options, a little bit more to work with. Now, I have had a couple of questions in terms of asking, do you need hair to wear one of these? And in my opinion, again, I can't tell you from experience because I have hair. I think what you could do is when you are tying your scarf on initially, and I'll try to remember to talk about this when I'm actually doing those wraps later, is that you can probably tie the scarf on your head, and even if you don't have hair, just sort of slip this guy right underneath and then proceed as though it is attached to your head, even though it is not. I also, on one of my recent videos, somebody asked me whether it is possible to do wraps without putting your hair in a bun, because they mentioned they have sensitivity sometimes with all of their hair in one place. The answer to that is a little bit complicated. I think it's easier to do if you're working with square scarves, because what you can do is put your hair in a bun. You need to get your hair out of the way when you're tying a scarf on, or you are going to get it tangled and it's going to be messy and there's going to be a bigger chance of it sliding. So your hair does need to be up and out of the way, at least initially, when you are tying scarves on your head. One of the advantages of working with square scarves is that if you tie it on triangle style, you have an opening in the back. And so what I would recommend trying is put your hair in a bun, either using a hair elastic or a couple pins, tie the scarf onto your head, and then remove those pins, remove the hair elastic, and then quickly tuck the fabric in over top of your hair. And I think that would be manageable, and proceed as usual from there. If you try that, let me know how it works. Let me know if that solves the problem for you. I am very curious to hear because, again, that's not an experience that I personally have, so let me know. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to start with the rectangular tie. So this is a perfection scarf from Rapunzel. I know these are not in stock anymore, but I wanted to use this scarf because I think it really illustrates exactly what's going on with this wrap in a way that I don't think would be as clear if I were using a different type of scarf. So in my previous video, I talk about when you have a square scarf that you can wrap it with the folded edge at the front of your head, or if you have a border that you want to show off, that you can wrap it with that border. And so that is what I'm going to do here. With these scarves, I really like to have the border showing. I'm going to fold it under just a little bit and then place it on my head. So gather it up in the back, and I am simply tying a knot. So obviously, you can leave it here. Anything that I did in the previous video with no scrunchie in the back, you can do with the scrunchie. If you want like that extra voluminous look in the back, you can do it that way. You don't need to, but you can. So this is going to require that we actually do have the scrunchie on because I am going to use it as a bun, and I am a little bit off center, which I do not want to be for this wrap. I really want to be as symmetrical as possible, so I'm going to scooch just an eensy bit to one side. I might have made it worse. All right, well, we're just forging ahead because I don't want to redo it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these two ends and I'm going to bring them up and over the top. So up like this, I'm going to, as I go, tuck in any of those shorter bits that might be wanting to pop out. And then I'm going to tie it in a knot. And then from here, I'm going to tie it a second time in a square knot sort of style. And so what I end up with is kind of this flat little knot and then two ends sticking out, which I think looks a little silly. I kind of look like I have cat ears right now. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to flatten this out just a little bit, and I'm going to very gently tuck in the edges of each scarf around the portion that is wrapping around my bun, just like that. And then same thing, just very little, just enough to hold it in place. And so what I end up with, it doesn't even really look necessarily like it's tucked, it just kind of looks like it's sitting flat. And I think that this is so pretty. So here it is from the front, from the side, from the back, and the other side. And you can see why I wanted to illustrate it with this scarf, because having like the border here and then the little bit of border showing in the back in this bow, I think is absolutely adorable. So that is one of my favorite low bun variations, particularly with a scarf that has a pretty border just like this one. So now we are going to move on to the triangular scarf variations. Which scarves do I already have folded into triangles? That'll do. Okay, so I am back with my Shining Horizons Israeli tickle, and I am going to fold this up just a little bit so that I've got a little layer going on there. Excuse me. Okay. I think it's my first time sneezing on camera. That was fun. And I am going to tie in a knot at the nape of my neck. So this is the part where, if you didn't have hair, because this is open in the back, if you wanted to like insert a scrunchie up and underneath, I think that would work well. And also if you wanted to, at this point, release anything that was holding your hair in place, now would be the time to do it. Something that can happen with these scrunchies is that because they have all of these little, loopy things, sometimes they can get splayed over your head and cause like unevenness in the back. So what I like to do when I have like an open back like this is I will go in with my hand and I will gently feel all the way around the scrunchie and try and pull all of those loops to the back to create the most compact bun possible. And then I like to kind of pleat in the back here. So I'm just going to gather little bit at a time, and then tuck that underneath. And then give a little extra tug right there. Not too tight, you don't want to be hurting your ears, but just enough to really keep everything nice and snug and secure. So, easiest way to finish a low bun wrap like this is to take each of your sides, fold in those raw edges, and then I am just going to go up and around the bun. And I want to make sure that this isn't thinning out too much. I want to keep this nice and broad. I want it to be the width of my entire bun. And then tuck it in either at the nape of the neck, or if it keeps going around, go ahead, keep going, tuck it in. Now this is often where I like to do a little bit of extra shaping up. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of extra fabric that pops around at the side here. I don't seem to have that happening, but if you do, I like after this first pass to really tuck in anything that might be a little bit uneven, that might be poking out a little bit with the fabric. Really use that to smooth it out. And then the other side is going to do the exact same thing. Fold in those raw edges, bring it up and around, keeping that nice and broad. And then same thing, just tuck it right underneath. And this is your absolutely classic boilerplate square scarf bun. So from the front, from the side, back, and the other side. Doesn't get any simpler than this. So the other variation that is very common, very simple, very pretty, is to do a little twist. So when I first started wrapping, I would take both to the side, do a little twist like this, and then wrap that around the butt. Now the problem when you do this with a square scarf is that it tapers a lot more than a rectangular scarf will. So you end up with this twist that is very thick here at your neck and then very thin at the end. And so if you wrap it over your bun like this, it ends up pretty asymmetrical. If that doesn't bother you, go for it. But I found a better technique that ends with a more symmetrical look. So instead, I'm going to take both of my scarves, I'm going to bring them up, and then I'm going to tie a little half knot up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep wrapping around. So it's going to wrap around once, twice. Usually I get about 3 times in before ending up back down here at the nape of my neck. And then the same thing on the other side, wrap it around once, twice, 3 times, and then we're back down here. I'm going to give one last little wrap and then just tuck in either at the nape or underneath the twist itself. And this is how you end up with a lovely little symmetrical looking twist. So from the front, side, back, other side. Very, very simple. Takes a little bit more time to undo at the end of the day because it's like a very self-sustaining wrap at that point, but it's also very secure. I really like that wrap for like working out. It goes on quickly, it stays in place. I do not have to worry about anything budging or coming undone. But typically with these square scarf wraps, like you have a square scarf on with a no-slip headband, that thing is pretty bulletproof. It is not going to come off during the course of a workout. I think Andrea Hanna Esther over at Rapunzel has a video where she like goes on a roller coaster wearing one of these and it doesn't budge. So one final variation, again, like you can tie these scarves and like these ends in any way that you might be able to think of, but you can do a little bow here at the top. So just tie here and then do a little bow, however it is that you personally do bows. And then I like to do, similar to before, I don't like to leave these fully out because sometimes they'll get like a little bit funky looking, but just very lightly tucking in so that it still gives the appearance of just draping down, but it's not gonna like go flying off into space. And then fluff up your little bow loops, make them nice and even. Yeah, you can play around with that in a mirror if you're actually going to wear it like that. I've mentioned before, it's always a little tougher in the viewfinder. So here that is from the front, from the side, from the back, and the other side. So this was a much shorter video. I think there's a lot, you have less that you can do that is specific to wearing a bun on the back of your head. If you come up with other styles that specifically use the bun, I would love to see them. So yeah, especially like tag me over on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Insta, I post there more frequently there than I do here. But yeah, and final reminder, I think this is probably my last video that is going up during the month of June. Use code SarahRivka15 for 15% off if you do any shopping with Rapunzel right now. And yeah, that's a wrap for me. So until next time, thank you so much for watching.